This marks the 14th Pratt Packard Declamation Contest. The name of the contest honors two Choate teachers who were at the center of the school's public speaking tradition. E. Stanley Pratt, a Choate dean and public speaking and drama teacher who taught at Choate for 39 years, from 1921 until 1960. And H. Jeremy Packard, former head of the history department and a 1955 graduate of Choate. Mr. Packard, one of Mr. Pratt's students, revived the tradition of declamation at Choate when he initiated the public speaking as a requirement for all third formers in the early 1970s. This and all our public speaking and debate programs are underwritten by Mr. Charles Krause III, Choate, 1951. All finalists receive a monetary award, but the first place winner will in addition have his or her name engraved on this stunning bulb. Without further ado, let us move to the main event, the speeches. Our first speaker is fourth former Lauren Lamb. Lauren comes to us from Weston, Connecticut, where she has a younger brother, and a twin sister who attends Exeter. Her scariest moment was competing in the New Englands last year in track. However, finishing fourth in the hurdles at the same meet was her proudest moment at Choate so far. Her most influential teacher has been Miss Matthews, who taught her that diversity and individuality are virtues, and taught her also the importance of creative writing. The title of Lauren's speech is The Rules of Hate.
Hate crime, hate group, hate male. When did hate become such a bad word? Especially as kids, we're taught not to say hate. We're told that it shouldn't enter our dialect, ever. You don't hate broccoli, you dislike it. Even today, people try to limit our use of the word. When someone says, I hate math, I hate my teacher, I hate my stomach, I hate him, another person reminds them, you don't hate, insert any noun, you just dislike it. I have found in life that sometimes hate is the wrong word to use. When I was a kid and I told my mom that I hated her because she wouldn't buy me candy at the store or let me stay up late, that use of the word was too strong. But today, there are several other instances where I believe it's perfectly rational for me to substitute dislike for a stronger word. I hate society with every fiber of my being because coming down to the root of several of my problems in life, society is the origin. Because so much of who we are and how we live is defined by what society dictates as normal, acceptable, and okay. There are several main aspects of my life that society makes me hate. I hate the way I was taught to hate myself. In today's society, young girls especially are taught to be competitive, and we're taught to strive for perfection in every aspect of ourselves. I wasn't born hating my body. I was taught this. Girls and boys feel too much pressure to look a certain way, pushing us to achieve this through unhealthy, dangerous methods. Our bodies don't belong to us, but to society. Society says, you like your stomach? It could be flatter, you could be thinner. You think your chest is nice? Your breasts could be bigger, you could be sexier. You don't mind the hair on your legs? It's masculine. So mutilate your body to be defined as socially acceptable. Of course, boys struggle with body image issues too, but more than 70% of those who suffer from anorexia and bulimia are women. There are so many other problems that come with being a woman in a man's world. For one, I hate it when people joke about the serious topics. When random guys in the dining hall, or even my friends, laugh at a rape joke, or about a woman's place being in the kitchen, or when they don't think it's a problem that women only earn 77 cents to a man's dollar, while black women only receive 64 cents. As a woman, I hate not being able to wear a short skirt or low-cut top for fear of being sexualized, sexually assaulted, or told that neutral parts of my body are distracting. Girls shouldn't be forced to change when they're wearing spaghetti straps. The administration is just saying that their education is less important and less valued than their male peers. And I hate it when people say that feminists are just whiny bitches victimizing themselves, because evidently we became equal when we were granted the right to vote. And apparently racism ended when slavery ended. I hate the way minorities are treated in this society. I'm not saying I hate being black, but there are so many disadvantages and dangers that come with a dark skin tone. Stereotypes and profiling defines our society, and I hate that I have to explain to my younger brother why I don't want him leaving the house in a hoodie. I wish there were no double standards regarding race. When Kendall Jenner gets cornrows or when Kylie Jenner colors her hair, they're praised for being original and artistic. When if I had done that, I would be labeled as ratchet or ghetto. And I hate that I will never be considered beautiful, because women are supposed to be white, sometimes pale, tan, but not black. I wish that my friends would check their damn privilege. They have such firm opinions contrary to mine about topics that they can't fully understand because they're not a minority in a white world. And like most people, they don't understand the pressure and the weight that comes with not having white privilege. I hate the school system and the way it makes our generation feel, because it makes me hate myself and it makes me feel unimportant and stupid. Students sacrifice their personal health to do well, and this should be a bigger problem. We stay up till all hours of the morning studying, then wake up 2 hours later to take a test. We skip meals to compensate for our lack of sleep. More than anything, maybe it's just me, but we spend hours in our rooms crying over bad tests and the stress that school is placing on us. I hate that I'm too ashamed to admit to my friends that my GPA is below a 4.0 and even a 3.6 for fear of the judgment, because in this society, intelligence is defined by grades. And I hate how I always want to throw up when I think about the coming week and how anxious, overwhelmed, and stressed I will feel. So I think it's perfectly okay for me to use hate in these situations because they negatively affect me along with other women, minorities, students, and humans in general. And I hate feeling like a failure because I'm not 100 pounds. I'm not a 4.0 student. I'm not a beach blonde white girl, and if I'm raped, it's my fault. But more than anything, I hate the feeling that bubbles in my stomach and the tightness in my chest because I know that in my lifetime, none of this is going to change. And I know that hate is bad for me, but in this society, I just can't help but say it. Thank you.
Our second speaker, Y.J. Lee, named Seoul as his hometown, but lists 5 other cities in 4 countries and on 3 continents as where he grew up. When asked who knows him best at Choate, he names 5 students and then goes ... and many more, exclamation point. Of Mr. Lowry, Y.J. says, "This man re-taught me English." And he describes Messrs. Farrell and Stewart as that dynamic duo. He is mum, however, on which is Batman and which is Boy Rob. YJ's speech is entitled, "It Feels Good to Be Human."
Well, goddamn, it feels good to be human. Ironically, I found this line in passage came out on my October SAT literature test. I say ironic because, as you all know, at the time of testing, it really doesn't feel too good to be human. But ever since that day, this line has become my favorite quotation of all time. Why? Well, maybe, sorry, Mr. Farrell, it's because this is the most honest line of literature I've ever come across in my 13 years of schooling. Or maybe it's because this line stuck with me for every second of every day since the moment I read it. I'm not kidding, every moment. For example, I take American Studies with 8 other students, and like all tightly knit classes, we have a Facebook group message chat. I could have shortened that, I'm sorry. Where we basically talk about how screwed we are from work every night. One night last term, I had a particularly important paper due the next day, but I wasn't worried. I'd planned everything out over the weekend, and all I had to do was just write it. Or so I thought. After soccer practice that day, I came back to my room and read over the instruction sheet again, because why not? I don't know if that was a curse or a blessing, but I realized that I had made a fatal mistake. I had misread the essay topic. So I knew I had a choice. I could have asked Mr. Stewart, my history teacher, for a one-day extension, but that's probably the worst thing that he could do in that kind of situation. So no, I sat down at 5:30 and finished the first draft by 10. I'm not gonna lie. By that time, I was pissed, I was tired, unmotivated, and frustrated when I heard a ding noise from my phone. Edward, my classmate, had messaged our Facebook group at 10:21 p.m. Guys, I'm starting my paper now. Only God knows how much sleep he got that night. I couldn't help but laugh. I genuinely forgot about my problems and simply enjoyed his misfortune. It's a little screwed up, I know. But let me explain. With that one line, I knew that Edouard felt the same way as I did, utterly screwed. The greatest thing about being human to me is to be able to feel an array of emotions. I felt frustrated about my paper, but I found the situation to be humorous. And more importantly, I felt comfortable because I knew I wasn't alone. It felt good to be human. The age-old question, what makes humans humans, has been contested for millennia, but personally, I think it's quite simple. Other than our superior aptitude for survival and learning, the emotions that we feel inside, to love, to hate, to be happy, to be sad, to be nervous, and to be inspired, is what makes us humans. Taking away the ability to feel and think independently is like taking away the function to be human. And I am so blessed to be the sole owner of my emotions and thoughts and to be a part of a community which enjoys the same privilege. That's why every day, the moment I gain my consciousness, during those few seconds my body is asleep, but my mind is still active, I always tell myself that it feels good to be human. That it feels good to know that I am, in fact, a part of a greater movement of mankind. We constantly push ourselves every day to be better, to be innovative. Just in the past century, we've explored the deepest depths of the great big blue, put up thousands of tons of tube-shaped aluminum in the air to commute, progressed at an unimaginable pace in medical science. We've reached for the stars, created civilizations, challenged previously accepted ideas, and stood up for the right thing. We've joined and celebrated together as a single kind in collective success, and we have cried and supported each other in times of tragedy. We created reasons beyond survival to be human, and we have broken and pushed every boundary beyond our imagination. I'm so proud to be a part of this movement, and the more I think about it, the more I think it feels so good to be human. And I wish I could end here, but I can't. I can't because despite our successes, we aren't perfect. We have committed atrocities. We have been cheated and have deceived others. We have created society split into the oppressed and the oppressor, the former bounded by violence and abuse, and the latter by prejudice. I'm proud to be human, to be living in a country that stands for justice and equality, yet I'm ashamed because in reality, some people in this same country, same state, even same town are discriminated against for being born the way they are. I'm proud to be human because I live freely and in peace, because I am able to enjoy and appreciate our human achievements by receiving a world-class education. Yet I am ashamed because back home in the Philippines, a girl named Mia, who's the exact same age as me, will never know the privilege of getting an education because she works as a maid at my house. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that I have to call the ability to be human something that should be an obvious universal right, a privilege because so many people in the world are denied the right to be human. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not forcing you. As a matter of fact, I can't force you to care. But I am delivering this speech to you today to remind you that just because it's happening somewhere else, that doesn't mean it's not our problem. All this progress is fantastic and beautiful. But somewhere along the lines, we lost our compassion. Is it really worth our loss of compassion when the only thing that connects us around the world is that we are human? So how can I enjoy my life when I know that someone else is living theirs in fear in Nigeria, the Gaza Strip, Venezuela? How can I go to sleep knowing that? I realize that the most informed people are often the most ignorant as well because we fail to act. But listen to me. I'm not lying when I say that every one of you is the future of the world, because we are. As cliche as that sounds, it is now up to our generation to make history, and rest assured, we are bound for greatness if we work together. Together, not just the privileged like us, but every man on the streets, every woman in the slums, every child in the projects. And to change an entire social structure, it's daunting. But it's necessary. Necessary because I no longer have to live in a world filled with violence and hate. Necessary because you will be able to live in a more just and fair society. Necessary because one day, maybe one day, we can all stand up and say, God damn, it feels so good to be human. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Dora Jakowski. Dora is from San Francisco, where she grew up learning from an older brother and sister. She is a 4-year senior at Choate and lives in the Triple in Homestead. She has the good taste to name Crosby, Stills, Nash as her favorite band and Some Like It Hot as her favorite movie. Her favorite achievement since coming to Choate was the opportunity to record music in Los Angeles last summer, and her scariest moment was back surgery last summer as well. Dora's speech this morning is called Crooked Teeth.
Sorry, I'm scared. Oh. I have never cared about the straightness of teeth. I don't think that having straight teeth is what makes a smile nice, and I definitely don't think that crooked teeth ruin a smile either. Teeth are just teeth. We take care of them so that they don't fall out, and then you can chew all kinds of things. I have teeth, and you have teeth. Even Corey Gottfried had some. We all have teeth. When I arrived at Choate, my teeth were covered in braces. But the braces weren't comfortable, and I didn't have an orthodontist in Wallingford, so after completing my first month at Choate as a metal mouth, I decided that that was good enough. It took me less than 15 minutes while crouching on the bathroom sink with my face inches from the mirror to pry each bracket off my teeth with my thumb until I had successfully and completely removed my own braces. I felt triumphant, so I showed my freshly freed teeth to a Nichols prefect, and she gasped and called me insane, and I returned to my room where one by one, girls in the dorm came to see what I had done. Some people thought I was cool for doing it, but the majority had a reaction of a gaping mouth and called me insane again and said, "You're crazy, don't you want straight teeth?" But I didn't care. It was at that moment when I realized that breaking out of my teeth chains was pretty symbolic. I kind of broke out of all the chains. Because I had done something so unusual in the first month of my time at Choate, people started to expect that sort of thing from me. I liked that after a while, no one thought twice about how I rarely wore shoes freshman year, or how I did yoga poses during Sunday D that my mom had taught me to relieve stress, like downward dog and flying lotus. But I was shameless. Even when I wore wore my back brace to Buddhist meditation on Wednesdays, and one wintry afternoon I skipped into the dining hall in a onesie, and Charlie Mitchell, a boy whom I've maybe shared 3 words with, unfortunately, walked by with a plate of French fries, and they looked so delicious, so I grabbed a fistful of Aramark fries, and it was totally awesome, and I ate them with my teeth. Maybe I'll apologize to him after the speech. It was these little things that made me feel free. Like when I wore a blue recycling bag to holiday ball. It was plastic, and one girl called me unfestive, but I didn't care. Because it was these things that made me feel free in my time at Choate, in the rule-based, totally constricted land of Choate. But I didn't care that some people thought I was cool, and I definitely didn't care that some people thought I was weird. For a long time, I didn't care. And then, like the slow and painful process of braces on crooked teeth, I began to feel the pressure from Choate pulling me, aligning me into place, making me feel bad for when I wasn't perfect. So the comfort that I'd once felt in being bold began to fade. I felt like I was smudging my daring, jagged edges into a blurry remnant of what might have been individuality, simply because of recognizing my differences as something wrong rather than something fabulous. My quest for adventure in an everyday life morphed into a sad search for a me that didn't exist. If my mind was an audio wavelength, it was being stretched out from its peaks and valleys into one single straight line, a monotone sound, with no more accented harmonies or melodies, just ringing with one constant dynamic until the sound faded, like a smell I had gotten accustomed to. Instead of exploring new and creatively new things and adding excitement into my life, I held back, afraid and shy. I even wished I could dress to disappear into the masses, to camouflage with those girls in their Barber jackets and hunter boots. I went from being a spectacle to spectating others. Because I didn't think I was good enough, I judged others. However, in actuality, I was just projecting my own insecurities onto other people who I potentially could have looked up to or even encouraged. I'm still ashamed for the way I judged others just because I didn't have the courage to be different myself anymore. It's useless to put other people down. That's not how the world is going to continue being reborn. New things only come from change. An idea can only become a revolution once it has caught the fire of attention. Art can only be original once someone is brave enough to break the rules. A song is boring unless it has the element of surprise and layers upon layers of accented harmonies and changes. People are only able to come together in true communion once they have expressed themselves in all their differences and then been accepted for those same reasons. Everyone at Choate has the choice to blend in or stand out. I say stand up and stand out. Challenge that person, even if he's your friend, when he says something homophobic. And ask for help when you aren't sure, because honestly, is anyone sure? And make a mistake, but be happy it's permanent, because when you learn later on, those proud marks will be permanent too. And when someone recognizes you for those proud, awesome marks you made, you'll smile to yourself, because now you know that if you hadn't been stupid before, you couldn't have been smart now. There's so much worry on this campus to say the right or acceptable thing. And soon enough, with that mentality, people will stop speaking altogether. They'll safely conform and never make a wrong move again, only because they'll be too afraid to move at all. These people will sit in the same position and they'll never find out what they're meant to be. But what if you stopped doing the same thing all the time? What if you jumped off the conveyor belt and found out that you actually loved the thrill of not knowing where you're going? What if you simply enjoyed the ride? Maybe you would discover things. Maybe you would learn something from the person you always overlooked as just some weird kid. Maybe you would put together some really cool outfits instead of just wearing that Barber jacket like those other 600 people. Maybe you would uncover yourself. Wake up from the dream of being someone else and realize that reality's the dream. We're lucky enough to be alive, so let's embrace our differences and break the chains. And no matter how crooked your teeth are, don't be afraid to smile. Thank you.
Our final speaker is Christopher Mokel. Christopher is a day student from Cromwell, Connecticut. Before Choate, he attended the Independent Day School. Christopher says that of his advisor, Mr. Shamil, "I don't know where I'd be without him." His favorite movie is It's a Wonderful Life. Christopher identifies being named as a best delegate at the Yale Congress in his freshman year as his proudest Choate moment. His scariest moment ever was the day his father took off his training wheels. Christopher's speech is entitled, "Our Fickle Fates."
February 14th, 1966. Walter Amons, an infantryman fighting during the Vietnam War, receives news that his child was born 2 hours earlier. Amons is elated, and he is consequentially granted an early discharge to go back to the United States. 2 hours before Amons is scheduled to depart, he is shot in the head by a Viet Cong sniper, leaving his child forever parentless, his spouse forever spouseless, and his family forever dejected. Why is a soldier, a man simply seeking to preserve and support our very liberty, punished by never being able to live another day? Why is a father, a man simply seeking to see his child grow up, punished by never being able to watch his child take his first few steps, never being able to watch his child say his first few words, go to college, get married? Because life is fickle, life is capricious, and even when it seems to be going great, life can find a way to change that. This is not a speech about military reform, nor does it regard the perils of the Vietnam War. Rather, this is a speech about you and me, about people who, when everything seems to be going great, life can find a way to change that. This is a speech about that U.S. soldier, the soldier who, with only 2 hours remaining in his tour, was killed by a Viet Cong sniper. This is a speech about a young honors student in Denver, a student who, the day after getting accepted to college, is run over by a drunk driver. This is a speech about a father, a loving, caring father who, when everything seems to be going great, receives news to the contrary. And this is a speech about you and me, not only about our lives, but also how we live them. May 30th, 2014. A young honor student in Denver by the name of Juan Carlos is walking home from school one day, elated to tell his mother that he was just accepted to college, when he is run over by a drunk driver. Juan Carlos dies that night, leaving his mother to mourn his death and his dreams of ever reaching college unattained. Why is a boy simply seeking to find his way in our world, punished by never being able to achieve his dreams? Why is a mother simply seeking to impart good values and skills on her child, punished by having to spend the rest of her life in mourning? Because life is fickle, life is capricious, and even if it seems to be going great, life can find a way to change that. I could tell you story after story of individuals whose lives seemed to be great, but were forever changed in the split second. Or I could tell you the story of my dad. For me, there's no dearth of happy memories from when I was a kid. I could tell you how every Sunday, my 2 brothers, my sister, and I would venture out to the local breakfast chain in our town, armed with little containers of jelly. We would attempt to create the most outlandish forts. And with little paper napkins, we would play paper football. When the food came, we would scarcely touch it. Instead, laughing, playing, joking, mixing it all together, daring each other to eat it. I could tell you how every day during the summer we would venture out in 80-degree weather on our island and play 18 holes of golf. Or I can tell you how during the cold winter months, every Saturday we would venture out to watch a hockey game at a local college or a local university. But for every unforgettable memory that I had with my dad, there were dozens that I didn't. Simply because I considered myself too cool, was too mean, was too rude to spend time with someone I loved. Earlier this year, my dad was diagnosed with stage 4 renal carcinoma. And when I see the man who once used to relish walking 18 holes of golf, barely able to get through one, or the man who I've never seen cry in my entire life, break down in tears at the Yale ICU, I think back to all the time I wasted. All the time I wasted because I thought I was too cool, because I was too mean, too rude to spend time with someone I loved. Don't be like me. Don't waste time with those you love. Because life is fickle. Life is capricious. And just like that soldier, just like that college-bound boy, and just like my dad, even if it seems to be going great, life can find a way to change that. Thank you.
Well, good luck to the judges. I would like to tell you that I've had a very good week. I went, or actually a little more than a week, I went to the music recitals last weekend. I went to the play, and then I walked in here today and saw the Step Squad and listened to these speeches. I would ask you to join me in one last round of applause, not just for these speakers, but as representatives of all of us who are doing our best to stand up and say it.
I have to tell you that this is my favorite school meeting of the year. Year after year, I'm just floored by the thoughtfulness, the talent, the poise of the 4 contestants who get up and speak. And I'm always amazed by what new, different thoughts they come forward with. This year, like every year, is just phenomenal. So thank you, thank you, thank you.